and easily playable, certainly not overload. And when the strings on the lute were too loose, was then your lute too full and easily playable? Certainly not overload. But when, Sona, the strings on your lute were neither too taut nor too loose and adjusted to an even pitch, did your lute then have a wonderful sound and was it easily playable? Certainly overload. Similarly, Sona, if energy is applied too strongly, it will lead to restlessness. If energy is too lax, it will lead to lassitude. Therefore, Sona, keep your energy in balance and balance the spiritual faculties in this way to focus your attention. So I like this image of when we're working with our energy, we want it to be neither too tight nor too loose. This week, as we were preparing for the retreat, I have a little example of this. So Hayun was away over Thanksgiving, and she came back, and we started getting ready for this group of 30 people that are coming. And we had some additional guests at the temple as well. And so we each kind of had our to-do list that we were working on. And we got into this situation where we had some volunteers showed up, and neither of us really had time to provide guidance to these volunteers because we were in this situation of almost too tight. We each had our own list, our own plan, things we wanted to get done, and we didn't want to be distracted. And so we ended up having a bit of a conflict, a bit of an argument with each other. And that would be an example of anger arising. And anger is kind of an energy it's a signal that we're not working with our energy very skillfully. And so then we went to this place of, well, I don't care. Just do what you want to do. I'm not going to bother with that. That's an example of too loose. So we just went to that other extreme of lassitude almost. And then we just walked away from each other for a while, cooled down, came back together, and we said, well, to get through this is what we're going to do today. And then we agreed every day we're going to sit and have a conversation about how to get ready for this retreat. And so at that point, we both became sort of wholeheartedly engaged in what we were doing and also open to hear what each other was saying. So this is an example of working with energies and also working with hindrances. The 5 hindrances. And Haju, if you wouldn't mind holding this up for just a moment. So you can think of, I like to think of these as energy blockers. You can think of them that way. But they're things that interfere with and obstruct and impede our progress along the path of our spiritual cultivation. So the first one, sensory desire, is seeking happiness through the 5 senses and following temptations. So a good example of this that's in our face right now, it's the holiday season. And there was Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And oh my gosh, get on the computer and you see all these things that you want to buy. And you sort of get into these schemes and attachment to sensory desire. So this desire comes in through the avenues of our senses. So it's eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. And in Buddhism, we have this 6th sense called mind. And so with our mind alone, we can create a sense of desire. Desire ties directly to the poison of greed. The second hindrance, ill will. This one is aversion, rejection, dislike, wanting to hurt somebody, wanting to punish, wanting to destroy, making judgments, these kinds of things. And so this week I observed myself making some snide and mean remarks about another person, which is a flag that I have some ill will going on. And it's an energy I need to pay attention to, a hindrance I need to pay attention to. Okay, so ill will is tied directly. If we go back to the three poisons, it's the first is desire, the second is anger or aversion, and the third of the three poisons is ignorance. So the remaining five hindrances have to do with ignorance, just not seeing clearly. So the first of these is restlessness and worry. So an example then of restlessness and worry might be, of course, this monkey mind that we all experience when we're doing meditation or other things in our lives. It's unsettled, and so we're jumping from one thing to another, not really finishing anything. It's like we're in a state of attention deficit disorder. We need to work with this. And so then sloth and torpor is a little bit the opposite of that. It's sort of this dullness or lethargy. Maybe you just want to take a nap or you want to kind of avoid something. The way this comes up for me in my life, because we have so many routines here at the temple, is I go on autopilot. So, it's time for midday practice. And I just go over and I do the sitting and I find myself chanting. And then when I'm done is I don't even remember what I chanted. So just really kind of zoned out. That's the sloth and torpor. Okay, then the last one, number 5, is doubt. In Buddhism, we say there is healthy doubt. That is skillful inquiry, curiosity, things like that. But the doubt we're talking about here as a hindrance is a skeptical doubt. It's just maybe an example might be you say, well, why am I doing this? I don't really believe this is going to get me here, this path that I'm on. And maybe wanting to give up on it, or sometimes this exhibits itself as I'm just kind of lost in thought or distracted, something like that. Avoidant is how doubt kind of comes up with me. Okay, so let's put them down for the moment. Thank you for being. Does anybody remember Vanna White? Is that? Okay. It's not just from my ear necessarily. For this game show host, she would be pointing, looking beautiful and things like that. Anyway, so thank you, Hodges. So these are the 5 hindrances. So the real question is, how do we work with them? And we have had this discussion throughout the week as to how we work with the 5 hindrances. So I'm going to give you a couple of methods, and then we're going to have a chance to talk about it in our small groups. So one way of working with hindrances that comes up throughout Buddhist literature, of working with any sort of difficulty, is to connect with noble friends and have suitable conversations. If you try to do things on your own, the hindrances tend to just kind of spin around. So some of that is good, but it's important then to find people to talk to about it and work with it. Um, so a second strategy, and this does not specifically come from Buddhism, but rather I'm going to borrow from my friend Akshaya over there, and also from other teachers. Trying to think of the name of the teacher. Maybe one of you after I mention it. But it's this little acronym called RAIN, and so it means recognize. It's where we bring mindfulness into play. Recognize, know when the hindrance is going on. Accept it without judgment. That's the A. Investigate. So this is very important. So we look at this hindrance is present. What is behind that, and what is sort of feeding that, and why am I perpetuating it? And then the last is maybe non-identification. So working with the hindrance, the main goal is to let go or abandon the hindrance so that our energy gets freed up and we can do other things. So that RAIN, again, it's like recognize, accept, investigate, and non-identification. And then a third way of working with hindrances that does come more directly from Buddhist teachings is apply antidotes. So antidotes, you can think of this as medicine. It's like, well, what sort of counteracts the snake poison that's in you or something like that. And each of these hindrances has some specific antidotes that we know kind of work. And basically these amount to redirecting your thoughts. So with desire, a couple of things work. One of them is to connect to the principle of impermanence. And so you know as you're doing your holiday shopping that those toys that you're buying will entertain the kids for about 5 minutes. So it's impermanent, right? And another strategy with centering desire is to practice generosity, because this is attachment to something. And so what is it that you can give up? Can you give up that object that you're attached to? We were having a discussion about t-shirts yesterday. That keeping these t-shirts around with us for years and years because they bring memories, but we don't really wear them. We just kind of put them in the bottom of the drawer. We don't need them. So how about giving that t-shirt to somebody else? That might be something to consider. Okay, so the second one, ill will. An antidote here, of course, is metta practice, loving kindness practice. So when I was having those mean thoughts about somebody, if I just pause and sort of nurture myself, and then offer silently these kind wishes to that person, it reduces my ill will that I am having. So practice of compassion and sort of letting go in that way. The third one, restlessness and worry. To me, this one is, all of these have a physical component, but this one in particular has a physical component. If I can go back to my breathing, just work with the breath, that helps to alleviate the restlessness. and worry, doing a body scan, but also just concentrating on one thing. I have 10 things on my to-do list at this moment. So I'm restless. I'm trying to keep all 10 going at once. Well, maybe I'll just concentrate on one of them and let go of worry about the rest. The next one, sloth and torpor. Um, just get up and open a window. Go for a walk. And in my example I gave of being zoned out in midday practice, how about if I chant something different for a change? Still, it's practice, but connecting in a different way. And then the last one is a doubt. An antidote that I like to apply is connecting to my intention. In a way, this is cultivating faith. So, to answer that question of why am I doing this, I remember I go back to, well, I really do want to cause the least amount of harm. I really do want to offer something of value to the world. So that's one that I apply. And also because in Buddhist tradition, this faith is so connected to trust in ourselves. You might want to think of examples of when an example that validates, yes, I can trust my judgment in this situation. And we all have these. So when we're spinning in doubt, we have to remind ourselves that we also have these good qualities as well. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, but I still left enough time now for us to have our own conversations. I think today I'd like to split into groups of 3. That seems to be a nice number. And we'll continue to practice our deep listening. So when we break into our groups, the question for you is identify one of these 5 hindrances that is present for you today, and maybe give an example of that, and then talk about what antidotes are you applying to it. How are you working? Okay. So is that clear? Any questions? All right. It would be nice if you could find 2 other people that you don't know very well. So please move around and get in your groups. After each 5 minutes, I'm going to ring a bell. And that means maybe switch to a different person.
I've been tripping a lot. So like I just want to I'm just trying to figure out and I know a lot of so I don't take like I thought basically like I also feel like the sometimes is like a lack of control on your energy again. Sometimes like when you're stressed, like you find that you're being like or upset or like not all that energy. You're not focusing on where you're and sometimes like I do that a lot. Like that helps me with a lot of and I find that it creates also better. It's just I think it's to be and like I right. I told you on this one day, it's just like, it's harder to be introverted. Like, it's hard to recognize when you're constantly right suddenly 12 thoughts down. It's like constant. It's hard it's like oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know actually working to put it out. Right, exactly. It's like description I give back and not like I also have a lot of life actions. Like recognize recognize that they are possible and they're options there because the like I've seen certain people someone there's places not right. Yeah, like just because it's not I do that a lot. Picture this. So we came out the closet. He was like,
Please begin to bring the conversations to a close, and then when you're ready, raise your hands. All right, it looks like everybody's ready, so please go back to your places. Okay, so now, of course, I want to pass around this microphone, and maybe Simone, you could be our microphone runner today. And I'm just interested in what you came up with as you did your sharing. What did you learn about five hindrances, or what did you offer?
Yeah, we found a lot of connections between a lot of these. I think we found that doubt and worry are very much related. So you can worry a lot because you doubt yourself, you doubt what you could do, and it was interesting that Beck like kind of brought up some points that I did not want to bring up, but like someone taking advantage of you or something like that, so he pointed out, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling that too. But yeah, so anything to say there? anything to say?
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. We kind of went through all of them, and it sounded like we both experience, we both have a lot of the same experiences and have a lot of the same challenges that we have to face, and find antidotes to. So I thought that was interesting.
In my group, I learned that there was a lot of variance in what people were dealing with today. I guess because of the holidays, I kind of assumed that it would be mostly sensory related. And it was all over, but the tools we all used that was common, like we had to bring awareness to the fact that we were in one of the hindrances. And, I definitely was taking care of my shopping list at least, 3 to plus times during meditation. And trying to come back and like thinking, okay, yes. And so it was great to see that there's a lot of variance.
I think our team had a common hindrance of restlessness, among other things, and it seemed to have come from partly being influenced by our jobs, and 2 of us in medicine, 1 in engineering. And some of the restlessness seemed to come from having numerous things to do at the same time, and some of the restlessness seemed to come from sort of a decision that a potential decision, for instance, whether to continue in the direction that one is going already versus to change it up and to do something more idealistic. It was almost like 2 different kinds of restlessness. And I think that as an antidote to it, I think that we all came here.
Jen, I feel like there are not, with a lot of these, it kind of feels like a teeter-totter where you're kind of having one pushing forward and then the other emotion pushing back, kind of like with the restlessness and worry. I know for me, what came up is when thinking about sensory desire was thinking about sensory overwhelm and kind of going back and forth between the 2. And then thinking about what kinds of restlessness, for me, it's more mental restlessness. But just thinking about the different ways all of this can manifest.
Our group covered 5, and we encouraged each other and pointed out, yeah, we were applying the antidotes, and it was really supportive. It was a nice group.
Our group talked about both ill will, mostly ill, and restlessness as well. And I was thinking about how ill will, when the first thing that I think about when I see ill will is more wanting to do harm to somebody, and then it was interesting to me that like most of us coming here are 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 typically people who don't want to do harm, and but yet ill will was what I felt the most connected to, in the sense that um, even say making eye contact with somebody and feeling in one's head that, oh, they're thinking this, is kind of an ill will. And I liked the solution of wishing well to somebody when those feelings arise. And I also enjoyed how we spoke about energy. And because it makes sense when I'm having ill will, I don't feel good, and it feels like something's blocking just that flow of positive and benevolent energy. And then one of us spoke about the feeling of restlessness and how when one is feeling restless, it's possible for us to bring that out by, like, talking, in by expressing oneself, maybe complaining. But then what's interesting is that that's also kind of a ill will towards ourselves, because it's just restlessness. And I really enjoyed the RAIN acronym of recognize, accept, investigate, and I think it was non-identity.
Yeah, there. We were talking a lot about restlessness and worry in my group. Somebody said something to me. It was really interesting about noises and thoughts and meditation. These things that, like, these external things that seem like they're interrupting meditation. And that it's easy to get also angry at your own thoughts for showing up. I definitely went through like a big phase like that when I first started meditating. I still do sometimes, where I feel like I'm playing kind of this angry game of whack-a-mole. When I show up in my head, I'm just trying to use the breath as a weapon to, push it down. And yeah, I think that's it's probably the wrong approach. But what he was sort of saying is it's the issues, the thoughts or the sounds or whatever feel like problems that need to be solved. It's not that they're there. It's like this pull to engage with them and try to fix them. So that did a lot for me. Really hit home. That's it.
Hi. So a couple of interesting discoveries also in reflection and hearing you guys speak. And the first one was, that we're all human. As we get into these little pods and start talking about things, I'm reminded of the story of the woman who had all suffering alleviated. She can go house to house and give, a piece of rice that there's been no suffering in the family. So there's this first moment of like, right, we're all dealing with this. There's no pretend that there's some alternate reality that's that time on another day that we deal with this. And the other part of that, coming into the Eightfold Path mentioned earlier, is I find that the deeper we get into that, the more these things seem to just fade away and require less wrestling with. And the connection of hearing that in the group just kind of reminded me, right, that intention piece and that inquiry piece is so powerful. And that in itself is just a thanks for all being a part of this.
It's a,
Their hands are open.
No,
Just our group, also, it sounds like a lot of people were talking about restlessness and worry, and that was true for our group too. And listening to everybody's reflections, it really sort of reminded me that another good antidote to all of the hindrances is the 3 foundation stones, which I'm really trying hard to incorporate more into my daily practice. But I think that those are really good partial antidotes.
So could you say them for those who don't know?
So the 3 foundation stones are in this very moment, I am safe. In this very moment, nothing is lacking. And in this very moment, there's always something to be grateful for.
Well, thanks so much, everyone, for your reflections. It's enriching. At breakfast this morning, we were talking about teachers and who's a teacher that had the greatest impact on your life. And as we went around the room again and again, it sort of came up the theme that everybody's our teacher. So we have done that together today. Thank you. So let's do the 4 great vows, and then we will have some announcements. So please follow along. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to germinate.
I vow to germinate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, we will have family services on November 12 and December 10. That's at 9:45 a.m. And then there's also retreats. There's the winter Yongming Zhongjin, and that's in Chicago, Mexico City, and Toronto in December 26 to 30 or December 27 to January 1, depending on the location. And besides that, there is the yoga classes. Would you like to talk about that, Sam?
Oh, great. Well, yeah, Matt and I are here. Let's see, is anyone else yoga class regular? So it's a tradition here at the temple for like 20 years. David Black teaches, and he's a wonderful teacher. It's a great relaxation you can get into while you're here. It's on Tuesdays, 6:30 generally, about 6:30 to 8. And you don't need to bring a mat with you. You just show up, and then hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Excellent. And there is the study groups. There's a lot of study groups. You can see it in this sheet. And there's also the recovery Dharma. Would you like to talk about it?
I'll just say real quick, recovery Dharma at noon in the historical Buddha Hall, right next door to the Yellow House. Up the steps, walk straight through, keep going straight, you'll run right into us.
And there is the New Year's Eve and day services on 10 a.m. just like now. So that's it. Thank you.
So thanks, Caleb. It's nice to have somebody new joining our greeter ranks. And it takes a little bit of bravery to be in front of people. So thank you. Let's all stand and we'll end with 3 formal bows. So as we exit the room, I ask your assistance in picking things up a bit. The mats and cushions that are touching the rug you stay. The remaining ones, the cushions, round cushions on the shelves, and then mats stacked neatly in the corner so that they don't tip over. Did you have a request for together action?
No together action today. Also, because we're going to visit the teens who are just ending their retreat. Yeah. But please take the together action into your own home and neighborhood.